And welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. We're back. I left you hanging, essentially. I'm going to say we're back, but really, I came back. And there's our first loop. There it is. So,
What happened?
listen, I sincerely, most of the time I just do this and it's like, hey, Mark, how you feeling today? This is, sincerely, I am curious now because it's been a while. How are you feeling?
Like I'm way older because it's been a long time.
Way older.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm good. I guess I have nothing not to be good about. Summer seems to be here.
Yeah,
it's mostly warm, and
so can I tell you about one small part of my weekend because it's going to die? Like you said, like summer's finally here and it's going to dive into. Have you heard all this recession talk?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Okay, so it is. So I told you about made a little trip up north. We ended up over the weekend for a chunk of time. We ended up on Seneca Lake, which I've been to Keuka Lake in New York State. I've been to Cayuga. I've never been to Seneca Lake.
Okay.
And we ended up there and kind of like not like a wine tour, but essentially like made a couple of stops like around the lake. It is the depending on where you are in America, everything is fine. And then depending on where you are in America, it is slowly falling apart. Because at like Seneca Lake, like wine country, nothing is happening. Nothing's wrong in the world at Seneca Lake.
Oh, I believe that.
It is. I mean, there's money. Money is being exchanged. People are buying wines. People are showing up in nice cars. Like there is very little going on. I feel like that's how America is right now. Like there's these subsections where if you fall into these certain pockets, like the world's okay and nothing's going on. The last thing I'll say before I let you talk is the irony of going to Seneca Lake is you do have to drive through kind of like the sticks of northern PA and southern New York. And so you're driving through kind of the sticks and then you open up to Seneca Lake and you want just the juxtaposition of the two, you know, like.
Did you go to Seneca Falls?
We did not go to Seneca Falls.
The home of It's a Wonderful Life?
No, we did not. How far is it?
Seneca Falls?
Yeah.
I think it's right next to the lake.
Is it? Because we drove around the lake and I did not see it.
Well, it's in the vicinity. Okay. It's like that.
Yeah.
It's there somewhere.
I'll tell you, I had never been to this is another one too, just for people, because I just don't go north as much as I go south. I end up in like Harrisburg and Allentown and Philly way more than I ever end up like in Ithaca.
Which makes sense since you're from Tioga County and you're touching Ithaca.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It doesn't make any sense. So we're up at Seneca. I had never been to Geneva, which is essentially like at the top of Seneca Lake. Absolutely beautiful. I had no idea like SUNY Geneva was so nice.
Yeah, it is. It was and I went up in December when they did the It's a Wonderful Life Festival.
Which you said was awesome.
It's a nice ride.
Yeah.
It's, as you said, going through the sticks. Like it is not, there's some place, like if you get on, like if you're going south, you get on I-81 and you just go for hours. And it's like the ride, it is the opposite of that ride. Yeah. It's very scenic. It's, a lot of 2-lane road, and it is it is nice. The thing that I've found interesting is you talked about the money exchanging hands. We look back 2 years ago when gas prices were so low, and gas prices weren't low for any other reason than the fact they couldn't sell it. Yeah. Like nobody was going anywhere because there was nowhere to go.
Sure.
So people sat at home. Now gas prices are so high. I'm waiting for people to be like, nah, we're not going because of gas prices.
I think so. Can I get in my
I don't
prediction?
think it's happened.
No.
I've never heard one person like, we're in Summer League tonight where we play at Milton.
Yeah.
And there's nobody that's like, well, should we not go because of gas? Should we not? No, it's just like we're living our lives just like it didn't matter if the prices were $2.50 a gallon or $5 a gallon. We're doing the same thing. We're just complaining about it.
So I was actually talking with some friends about it last night. And I think there's two things here. I think people are either going, we are living this summer as if nothing has changed. Like we're going to go about our summer. And then what's going to happen is like October, November, like it's going to kind of fall off the edge. The other way to look at that too, though, is if you look at all these different periods of inflation, obviously there were these crisis moments of it actually happening. But then afterwards, like you just paid it. And like you just like the world just kind of kept turning, and you just paid.
It's like
what it
jumping
was.
in the cold water.
Yes,
You jump in, it's cold, and then you just start swimming.
it happened in the 70s. It happened at one point in the 90s, and they have all these little points of inflation where, like, yeah, like in the moment it's kind of outrage, but then it's like, listen, like I want to go here, or I want to eat this, and like you just kind of the people either figure it out or they don't. And so I do wonder. I think October is going to be the point where we learn if that's the case or not. Because
Can I tell you? Back to where you were asking. Oh, I thought you were done. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
When you said how I'm doing today, one of the things I failed to mention is one of my pet peeves in life is when you go through the drive-through.
Okay.
And you ask for something like, certain sauce for your nuggets or, ketchup packets or something like that. And you clearly ask and they say, okay, and then they don't give you any. And that really.
You didn't get any.
I don't want to mention any names. Because I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. But I'm a little upset with a certain fast food establishment right now because I didn't have any ketchup packets.
Do you remember? This might be one of the things that we have in common. I remember when they just threw ketchup at you.
Yes.
I mean, you
needed like a bucket to carry the ketchup.
You would open up a McDonald's bag and it would just be a mountain. You would have to dig through the ketchup packets to get to your fries and burger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
those were the days, weren't they?
I have players right now that like they're so ingrained that like you better ask for it.
Oh,
like, if you don't ask for it, like you're not going to get. I remember getting sauces in my bag and just never even asking. Like it was just, I just assumed this came with the fast food. Now it's like if you don't say something, you're not getting it.
At some places, even if you do say something,
you still don't get it. We've talked about this before. I think Burger King's extremely overrated.
What?
I do. I do.
What? I mean, and again, right now they're not high on my, list. But what is overrated about Burger King?
I don't know. You know where else we went to? Have you ever heard of Mooney's?
No.
And people like in the northern tier will know Mooney's, but it's like they claim that they are the home of mac and cheese.
Oh, okay.
They actually, I think they have a couple of locations in our coverage area because I believe they're in the like Athens, Sayre area. I think they're in the valley there. And then they're all along. There's one in Elmira, Corning, Binghamton. Like they're all along like the bottom strip there in New York State. They call themselves the home of mac and cheese. They have like 30 different mac and cheese types. You can get like a lobster mac and cheese. There's a shrimp scampi, a bacon cheeseburger mac and cheese. It's crazy. Really, really good. They bring it out in these huge, huge plates. It's ridiculous. I can't remember where I was going with that, but I think I was just telling you, like, I had Mooney's. If you've never had Mooney's, I suggest it.
I can't believe you think Burger King's overrated.
This is my thing. I never get a burger. I always end up getting a chicken sandwich or chicken fingers. I don't love
There's your mistake.
Yeah, but I don't love the burgers at Burger King. I'm not a huge fan of them.
Sorry to hear that.
I know. It is what it is. We'll have to survive. Anything specifically that you want to talk? I got a couple of things just pulled up here.
Go ahead. You fire away.
I didn't know if you had
freestyle.
I didn't know
it's been so long. I don't remember. Like who was in office when you were last year? It was like, I don't.
I believe it's Biden. I believe it still is Biden. I mean, we can sit with this because we kind of talked about just recession talk a little bit. The U.S. household wealth for the first time has hit a snag in almost a decade. It's the first time that's actually decreased in almost 2 years. So a lot of times, like household wealth, like the income, it flattens, but it never really dips. So that's like you'll have these lulls where it actually, according to, I want to make sure that I get this right. According to Forbes and The Hustle, household wealth has hit a snag. First time in 2 years, it actually went down in quarter one. It went down $0.5 trillion net worth in household income. Pretty incredible.
I have a 2022 quarter here.
What are the odds?
And the back looks different. I don't know.
Must be fairly new.
I don't know. I've never seen one like this. So anyway, that is interesting that it's gone the other way. Here's one of my interesting takes from the weekend. This is riveting information.
Yeah.
They're having the hearings for September
6th.
Sorry, not September 6th, for January 6th. And Ivanka, his wife was Ivana, his daughter's Ivanka, right?
Oh,
so
God.
Ivanka said something along the lines of that she doesn't feel like the election was rigged, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
So Donald then was talking about her, and he called her Ivanka Trump.
Okay.
And they went through the psychology of it, and they went that he in all his, they dug through his tweets. He'd only ever called her Ivanka or my daughter Ivanka.
Okay.
But he never referred to her as last name. And the only family member he ever referred to by the full name was like the cousin who wrote the book about him, saying that he was such a jerk.
Okay.
And I think her first name Mary. He always called her by her full name. And now in this thing, he's now called, at least one time, he called Ivanka by her full name. So part of it was like, when you're a kid and you're in trouble and they call you by your middle name.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, in Trump's world, he calls you by your first name and your last name when he's mad at you, when he's kind of pushing you away. Yes, when you're in trouble.
Interesting.
I thought it was funny.
I mean,
for whatever significance that holds in the world, I mean, he called his daughter.
It's very, very interesting. I would love to see when last time he spoke about Kushner, her wife, or I'm sorry, her husband, Jared Kushner.
Okay.
Because he has distanced himself from the whole Trump campaign as well.
Okay.
So I wonder if he has referred to him as Jared or Jared Kushner as of recently. That would be interesting.
Yeah. It was because we can all relate to when you're a little kid and your parents fire out your first name and your middle name or whatever, and you're like, uh-oh. And so now with last name. I thought it was funny.
No, that's
for whatever it's worth.
I mean, for me personally, am I surprised by it? I'm not. I'm not surprised by that at all.
No, it's just the way of handling it, like the tipping of your hand. It's like I'm not surprised of it. I'm like I don't know. I mean, anyone who's surprised by that, I would tell them they haven't really been watching. But also too, I would just say like I don't think it's really like I think it's telling from a psychology standpoint, but I don't think it's telling us anything that we don't. No, I just thought it was kind of cute little.
No, it definitely is. I don't know. We can go with the household stuff. There was again 0.5 trillion loss in the first quarter. I originally I started reading into it and they kept talking about like the value of real estate and all that stuff, but I don't see how that necessarily falls into household income. Because to me, like in order for household income to drop, and again, you and I were just thinking out loud here, but in order for household income to drop, incomes must be lost. So the only thing that I can think of is inflation so bad that the value of your income is diminished to the point where your household income is lowered. Is that essentially what they're saying here? Because I can't imagine it's people quitting their job. I can't imagine it's a lack of income within the house. So the only thing that I can come up with then is that inflation is to the point where it's actually affecting the household income.
Well, yeah, or like if you have this much money to buy stuff,
yeah,
but now you can't buy 5 things, you can only buy 4 things because everything costs more. So that one thing that you didn't buy hurts that business.
Yep.
And now when you mix everybody in, and so, but
here's what
did everyone else's prices go up to match? I don't know. It's an interesting point.
So here's where I think this is going, and this is why I brought this up. Your net worth, like for example, when the real estate market goes up, your net worth technically goes up. Like I know the expenses of everything goes up, but so I thought that would balance that out. But in order to balance that out, the average income, the average household would have to own their house. And so what I think this actually demonstrates is how few people actually own the property that they're living in. I think it actually doesn't necessarily show job decrease or income decrease or inflation or anything like that. I think what it actually shows is that when the one thing that's propping up the net worth of household incomes is your real estate, like that's the thing that's combating the inflation of everything else, and yet it's still dipping. I think what that shows is there's a ton of people that don't own their house. It shows that there's more renters than ever before. More people are leasing, doing different things. So I actually think this shows the American household, the lack of ownership, whether it's BlackRock or all these other places buying into it. It's younger people not being able to afford to buy a house and they're just renting into their 20s and 30s.
I want to know how you can come up with a little soliloquy that's that insightful 5 minutes after you say Burger King's overrated.
It's understandable. I don't know what to tell you. I don't like their burgers. And with if the name of your fast food restaurant is Burger King and I don't like your burgers, it's tough.
I don't know if I've ever met anyone who liked burgers who didn't like Burger
I don't know what else to tell you.
It's interesting.
See, it's the only thing I have.
I don't mean to pat myself on the back. Do you remember when we were here last week, we were talking about the NBA finals, and I said after 4 games, it's going to be 2-2. After 4 games, it was 2-2.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you might tell.
I want to talk about the NBA finals. I have one other thing up here, and then let's dive into like some entertainment and sports. Does that work?
Oh, I have this for you.
Oh, okay,
I want to
go.
mention this before it gets lost on me because, I don't write these things down like I say I should. In the hockey finals, this is a good trivia question for you. This is a good one for you. So pay attention. Don't just laugh at me. Oh, first, I'll come back to that. We're sitting here before the show, as I tell we should film the pregame because Jeff's on the phone talking to someone on the phone for what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
Yeah, 10 minutes or so.
So I'm like listening because we're in the same room, and he's talking, and then he's telling this story about some kid at a combine.
Yeah,
and I'm listening because I'm listening to the conversation, and I want to hear this story about this basketball kid that goes to the combine, and then he stops talking, and it's like 10 seconds. 20 seconds, and there's just silence. And I look up to see and now he's off the phone and he's talking to me. Yeah. And there was like no signal that like, hey, Mark, I got a story for you. You just kept talking. And I was supposed to it was one of the more ridiculous things I've seen today.
I stopped because you looked busy. I thought I was doing you a favor. I was waiting for you to finish what you
I didn't know you were talking to me.
I understand.
You were talking to someone else for like 15 minutes, and now all of a sudden you're talking to me, and I had no idea.
I'm sorry. I want to tell you a story.
It was really, really funny.
And then I was like, oh, he's so busy, he's not even listening to me.
But while I'm sitting here, I'm listening. I don't want to look like I'm eavesdropping into the conversation.
Right.
I'm like, finish your freaking sentence. I want to know how this ends.
I mean, that's the real.
And then I look up, and you're just like, I'm talking to you.
I mean, that's the real forgotten part of this story is that you were eavesdropping.
Well,
you were so
we're
ingrained.
15 feet apart.
No,
like,
you were so ingrained in making sure I didn't know you were eavesdropping that I actually.
Well, I didn't want to like stare at you while you're having a conversation, but it was interesting. I was listening. So anyway, when the hockey finals start tomorrow, it's the Colorado Avalanche versus the Tampa Bay Lightning,
and everyone in Canada is going to watch.
Well, sure.
Yep.
But it's the second time in pro sports history, in the 4 major sports, that 2 teams are playing for the championship, and neither of the nicknames end with S, as the Avalanche are playing the Lightning. Can you name the other time?
There's only one other time.
Only one other time in history.
In all of sports.
All of sports.
My guess would be baseball because
wrong.
Really, because see, this is real quick. I just assumed with the Sox,
but they're both in the American League.
Right,
and I think they're the only 2.
Oh, they're the only ones that don't have an S in baseball.
I think so.
See, I did not know that. So then basketball, there's the Heat and the Magic, but they can't play in the finals.
There's more.
So the Jazz, but it couldn't have been the Jazz.
You're close. It wasn't the Jazz. But you're there. There's more.
There's Heat, Magic, there's Jazz. I can't even think of who else doesn't end with an S.
Keep thinking.
That's what I got for you.
You're an NBA guy. This is what you do.
I agree with you, but I don't think of which teams end with S and which ones don't. Jazz, Heat, Magic. That's it. That's what I got for you. Who am I forgetting? Enlighten me.
OKC.
The Thunder. So it was Thunder, Heat.
Thunder and the Heat.
Interesting. That's a neat one.
My second time ever.
I like that better than you're never in 150 years has anybody done this on a Tuesday when lightning struck. That was actually a good one.
You don't appreciate the nuance of life.
You don't think so?
It is.
I think I understand the nuance of life. Is that fair? You want to give me these records, but I told you before, I want the feat to matter more than the length of time. If you're telling me a record and the length of time is the most impressive part about it, I don't know. To me, that's just not. The number needs to be bigger than the length of time.
When we get to September, if something happens in college football that hasn't happened since 1943, I don't care what it is. It's neat.
And that's the point I'm making.
If a team gets 3 safeties in the second quarter, and it's the first time it's happened since 1938,
but it
still hasn't happened since 1938.
I understand that, but that would be awesome because it's 3 safeties. 3 safeties is way more the number exceeds the length of duration. If the most impressive part about it is that length of time, I'm not sorry. I'm out on the record.
The fact that Steph Curry didn't make a 3 last night, is that newsworthy?
I think it's very newsworthy.
Okay, good.
I mean, we'll go there since you brought it up.
But there's lots of guys that miss 3s all the time.
Yeah, but Stephen Curry did it 220 something because that
It was incredible.
number matters. See, to me,
He
it's
even
not.
had, I don't know if you saw, well, you were watching, so I'm sure you saw it, but I don't know if it registered. I think he had 38 straight playoff games where he had multiple threes.
Oh, I believe that. That
It was-
doesn't surprise me.
It was something like that.
Yeah.
So he didn't even have a this game he was 1 for 6, and
So I told you Warriors in 6. I wanted to go Warriors in 5. Do you remember me telling you that? Like I was like, I really want to do Warriors in 5, but I'm too much of a chicken. Warriors 6. That game 1, fourth quarter. I mean, this series would be if it wasn't for one random fourth quarter in game 1, where that the Celtics won 40-13, and just all of a sudden everybody for the Celtics became Stephen Curry for a quarter. I mean, this is over.
Well, but game
It's done.
4, the Steph Curry,
but he's supposed to.
You
do
could
that.
make the argument that
Stephen Curry was going to have a 40-point game in this series. Yes or no?
it's a good time. It's
yes
a good
or
thing.
No?
If he didn't have it in game 4, they're down 3-1.
I understand that, but yes, if we went into
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Like nobody would have thought the Celtics were going to win a quarter 40-13. And
No.
by the way they're going to win it is having dudes make threes that literally
on the road.
Yes, like it would have been preposterous.
I'm totally with you. You think Golden State's winning game 6?
I think I've said this before. I'm like one of the only people in America. I think Golden State's better. I don't know. I can't.
It's gonna be hard to win game 6 in the.
I think they're deeper. I think they're more experienced. I think they have a better balance of what they do. Like I think they're better. And I think I'm like one of the only people in the country.
No,
that
I disagree with that. When you watch enough, the Celtics don't. I don't want to say score as easily because nobody scores as easily as Golden State, but they just don't have enough guys who can go get their own, and they don't have enough legitimate power hitters in their lineup. They have some guys who can hit, but they're not like Golden State is. But they defend so well, and at home, I think it's going back to the West Coast. I think it's going to go 7.
I think to make this into a broader life conversation, I think the most underrated aspect that people just overlooked is we get so caught up in the moment and what have they done lately? What have they done lately? I think it's so easy for people to forget, when you've been there before and you've done it and you've seen it and you've felt it, everything's just calmer and smoother and nothing panics you. And there's very few teams that could have lost that game 1 the way they lost that game 1 and now be up 3-2.
You know what I think it is?
And win in Golden State.
Because they've already won.
That's the point I'm making.
And it's not just people talk about the experience, and I know people used to talk about this with the Yankees and Derek Jeter and how clutch he is. I don't think Jeter was that clutch. Jeter's postseason batting average was very similar to his regular season batting average. But once you've got there and you've proven that you're really good,
yes, and
you've won, and you can go out and go 0 for 3 today, and nobody's going to be like, Derek Jeter's a choker, he's a bum.
Yes.
Because he's not. So if Golden State, Curry has a bad night, it's not that he's a choke. It's not that he can't handle the pressure. He had a bad night.
Sure.
So their pressure level
are completely different.
The monkey is already off their back.
Sure.
They have nothing. So it just allows them to go out and play. And that's why Jeter was so good, because he was always good.
Yeah.
But it was just another game to him, and he could always hit.
So the 2 examples I have for you, and last night, I got in this argument because everyone has heard about Draymond Green and what a mess he is and da-da. But I've always thought this, when Draymond Green gets a technical, he kind of wanted the technical. Draymond Green,
there's method to the madness.
Listen, Draymond Green does not get emotional technicals. Steve Kerr does not get emotional technicals. These are I've been here before. I understand the balance and the wave of this, and now's a good moment for me to get a technical.
I'm with you.
Do you know what happened to the Celtics last night? Their head coach, Ime Udoka, lost his cool and got a really crucial tech. Marcus Smart lost his cool. They had horrible technicals at horrible moments. And it's a perfect example of one team's kind of done this and another team kind of hasn't yet. The other example that you brought up is I really enjoy The Voice. If you've ever seen the singing contest, The Voice.
Oh yeah, where they spin the chairs around.
And to your point, just experience and having been there and the monkey's off your back. You think about what people put into their performance when they're about to try out on The Voice. I mean, it is preparation and they're working towards this one thing and da-da-da. And my favorite part of that show, one of my favorite things, is when one of the judges gets up and comes to the stage to sing with the person who just tried out. And the thing that I love about that is it's the exact same stage and it's the exact same moment. And yet one person on a whim can just get up and within 10 seconds decide, I'm going to do this and sound great. While someone else took 2 months and all the energy and focus of their life, and they do the same performance, and both of them sound good. The difference is experience. Like that one person has like been on that stage and they've done it 1,000 times. And so it's like, do I think that person's necessarily better? No, they've just been there before.
Well, the other thing too, when you get to the back end of it, and this happens in sports. I mean, you just gave an example about entertainment, but you do get that where it's just been there, done that. I can block out all the other stuff and just play my game. But when they get old and they talk about golfers with the yips, that you're standing over this putt and you might win it, and you're like, I may never be in this position again. So there's the youth of pressure because you haven't done it before and you still feel like you have to prove yourself.
Right.
Then there's the back end of pressure where you're like, I may never get this chance again. This may be the biggest putt of my life. And it's really hard to make those as opposed to the 32-year-old who's like, I'm going to win. I'll win next week. I'll win the next. I got years of this.
Right.
So it is. Yes, it is fascinating. But you're right. You can just see. And Steph, I mean, for all intents, it was stunk. And they were, I think Van Gundy's like, these aren't close. Like he wasn't rattling them in and out. Like
I said, so this is so funny, and I'm only because I'm super nerdy.
But anyway, just
stuff.
to finish he looked calm as could be. He didn't look rattled. He didn't look like the world was coming to an end. He's the greatest shooter we've ever seen. He couldn't make a shot.
Yeah.
And he was just fine. And I'll go to the rim and I'll still get 16.
It was so, just to be super nerdy about it for a second, I was watching it with my cousin, and like mid-second quarter, I looked at him and I said, like, he's not even balanced on these shots. And I do think his ankle was really bothering him. Because it's one thing, like, if you're shooting and you're like, I'm not saying Stephen Curry can't miss. I'm just simply saying, like, there are times where when Stephen Curry shoots it, it is like everything you're taught about shooting. It's balance, and he's straight up and down, all those things. He was shooting it the other night, and he was landing, and his feet were split. Like, he was falling off to the side after he shot. I mean, like, just things that just never – I think he's a little more hurt than what they're going to announce or what Stephen Curry will announce.
Well, that's one of the other things.
Yeah.
People when you get to this point in every season, in seasons that aren't like, with baseball, that it's not physical and you're not diving on the hardwood and they're all beat up.
Oh yeah.
You get to nobody, there's aches, and some people are injured and us people are just achy, but it's always fascinating to me too, the guys who are really quick to announce. And then the guys who like Steph, even if it's obviously he can play, but he would never come out and say, no, it's bothering me. But there are some guys who come right, if they're hurt, they want everybody to know it. So they A, get the accolades, and B, have the built-in excuse if things don't go well.
I think there's different, like, I don't know how to explain this. I think there's guys like, yes, Stephen Curry's so unique because, yes, his dad was an NBA player and all that, but like he wasn't highly touted. Like he went to Davidson and he kind of like in a weird, bizarre way, like he really had to earn this in a way that like you wouldn't think Del Curry's son had to earn it.
I'm with you.
So that like there is a sense to Steph of like, I don't know how much he was actually catered to. Whereas you do get some of these other athletes or any aspect of your life really where like for some people, like, I don't even think they tell you because they want to use it as an excuse. But I think for them, it's like, I'm telling you because like, I need help. Like you're supposed to fix this, or you're supposed to help me get through this, or I think there's a ton of athletes like that. Like they will come out and they'll be like, listen, my thumb's bothering me. It's because when they were 15, people were like, are you okay? Like everything all right? Well, no, my thumb's bothering. Well, let's get you to the trainer. Like, let's do, and like, so I do think there's just those two different worlds.
That's true.
I mean, we never had a trainer growing up. So the idea to me, so like, if I twisted my ankle, the idea of me like telling somebody I twisted my ankle, like it kind of didn't, like it didn't make sense to tell anybody. Like nothing was going to happen because I told somebody I twisted my ankle or.
No, that's true.
So I do wonder for some of these athletes if it's different.
Have you seen Jurassic Park yet?
I haven't. I'm really disappointed.
I've tried not to hear anything about it, and I
Okay.
haven't. So if you've heard things, don't let me know. I
You
don't
don't
want to
know anything.
I don't want to know good or bad or anything. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Well, that ruins my talking segment then, because I was going to talk.
Are
about
you?
it.
Well, okay, I don't want to ask if you're going to see it, because if you say hell no, then that's going to tip that it sucked. I mean, here's what I'm guessing.
Okay.
I'm guessing it's going to be fine. That's my guess. No, don't say anything.
I did.
I don't want to know. But that's
my.
my guess. I think it's going to be fine. I don't think it's going to be what Maverick was for Top Gun. That's my
Well, certainly no. I mean, this is the other part of it too, like that positioning of when you release a movie and when you don't. I don't think any movie that came out after Top Gun Maverick was going to get flowers thrown at it. Let's put it that way.
But I think it was I think Maverick made going to the movies fun again for a lot of people who had either hadn't been there at all or just hadn't been there much.
Yeah.
And now they're like, oh, we should go back and see Jurassic Park.
Well,
I think that helped.
I think I told you and Joe, my last 2 times have been fantastic because I actually maybe 3. Because I think the last 3 times I've been in the movie theaters, I think it was last summer I saw Free Guy, which I told you I personally loved.
That Free Guy is really, really
Then
fun.
I went and saw the recent Spider-Man when they go into the and that was
I heard that was good. But I
loved it. Then I went and saw Top. So like my last 3 have been really, really successful.
How about what are your thoughts on this? What you call Bullet Train?
I'm excited. I'm really excited. I'm assuming you've seen the trailer.
I've seen the trailer.
For those that don't know, it's a Brad Pitt movie coming out. I believe it is.
It's from the people who did Deadpool.
Well, it's from the people who did Deadpool, but I also think there's an Asian producer, an Asian director. There's an award-winning Asian director producer that is like helping with this.
Okay.
I'm blanking on their name. They did a lot of like they did a couple of the zombie movies, the Train to Busan, I think it's called. It got a lot of like critical praise, like overseas, stuff like that. So I think it's going to be, obviously, I think it's going to be fun and all that. But I think it's going to be really, really unique in what Americans consider an action movie.
I think it's going to be unique.
Okay.
When I see the trailer, I think it's unique. I think there are not a lot of guys who can do what Ryan Reynolds did in Deadpool.
Uh-huh.
And I think Brad Pitt is one of the guys who can play that. Like he looks like a guy who can win a fight, but he's also he's got much better comedic timing than he gets credit for. I'm very curious to see it too.
See, and again, I could be wrong because obviously I haven't seen it. I think for most people, action is Top Gun Maverick. It is Michael Bay and stuff's blowing up.
Things blowing up.
It is
car chases.
It is larger than life things that I think what's going to be unique about this movie is I think it's going to be a lot of hand fighting. I think it's going to be a lot of like the transitions and the way they show I don't want to call it simple combat because obviously to you and I it's not simple, but what people would consider like played down action. I think the way that they're going to make this, it's going to be like it's going to be on the edge of your seat, but it's not because a bomb's about to go off or because you're flying an F-18. It's going to be edge of your seat because it's well done and it's crafted well. And so I can't speak highly enough about it. I'm really excited.
I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be good.
Speaking of, you like Lady Gaga. You've talked about Gaga. They are talking about, she's in negotiations right now to play Harley Quinn. I hope I got that right.
Really?
She's in negotiations right now to play Harley Quinn in the next Joker sequel with, and I'm blanking on it, for the last Joker. He got nominated for it.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix.
They're doing another one.
They're doing a Joker #2, and right now she is in negotiations to become Harley Quinn.
Did you see her in Stars Born? Did you see Stars Born? She is somewhat talented.
Oh, she's very good. Can I tell you a Star is Born story?
I mean, other than what's funny when you're our age.
Is that a no? Well, I can't tell you.
When you're our age, she reminds you of Madonna.
Yeah.
She's just like, except she's such a talented musician. She plays and it's like Madonna just sang.
Okay.
Madonna didn't do it. So it is this, I don't know. I mean, Madonna was more of like just a cultural icon, where Gaga is a much, much better musician than people give her credit for, I think.
I don't mean this to put down Madonna at all. I think her fame was a product of the system. because back then it was kind of like you were kind of force fed what they wanted to give you. And I think Gaga is a product of like just being overly talented. The system could not neglect.
Well, Madonna had guts to be different.
I agree with that.
Madonna was very different but no, I do get your point.
I get that.
So no, if Gaga's Harley Quinn would be like, sign me up.
It looks like it's going to happen as of right now. A Star is Born. It was one of the first movies my girlfriend and I ever went to.
Okay.
Because it would have been what, 2018?
Something like that.
I think it would have been 2018. It was one of the first movies we ever went to.
Okay.
And the theater's packed because obviously it was, picked up steam.
And you fell asleep.
No. So we're in the theater, and I'm very much like I'm a non-talker when I watch a movie or a show.
You know why?
A non-talker?
Because you're supposed to be a non-talker.
Okay, are you a non-talker? Then I take it too. Okay.
Yes.
Very much a non-talker. I'm even to the point where like there's only been a handful of times in my life where I've picked up the remote and paused something because I had to say something because I do not want to say it while the screen is in motion.
Okay.
You know what I'm like? That's how much I respect. Like, so we're at A Star is Born. The theater's obviously packed. And anytime you're in a packed theater, like I'm not implying you're gonna get silence. Like this isn't me like whining or crying or anything like that. We are in A Star is Born. And there's a lady probably 2-3 rows behind us. And she is like play-by-playing this movie. And not only is she play-by-playing it, but she's like having the conversation with herself. So it's like, oh, she's going to go on stage. Oh, maybe she's not going to go on stage. Oh, she went on stage. Like that's like yes, and this is happening. So this is going throughout the movie to the point where like I start kind of laughing. Like she has almost become the show as this movie's going on. And
you didn't have to pay any extra
for her or for that part of the show. And like, you know me, like I'm more free flowing, like it's happening, so I might as well enjoy it. It's gonna be a great story someday, hopefully. My girlfriend is obviously like it's ruining the movie for her, and rightfully so. Like I'm not calling out my girlfriend. Like I think she ruined
there's lots of people who
she ruined the movie for a lot of people. So it's getting to the end of the movie. And for anybody who hasn't seen A Star is Born, earmuffs, tuck your ears away.
Oh, whatever.
It's been 5 years.
You had your chance.
It's been 4 or 5 years. So at the end of the movie, obviously he perishes. He's no longer a part of the world anymore. And as it's happening, they start showing the flashback. And this lady in the entire theater, as loud enough for everybody to hear, just says, "I thought he was dead." Because she didn't catch on that it was a flashback. So now this goes on. The movie ends like 10 minutes later. We're walking out of the theater. I'm cracking up. My girlfriend's obviously upset.
She's livid.
And again, I do not blame her. We get in the car and I'm saying to her, and I'm like, I don't think she was all there. And Hannah's like, she was all there. And so now it was like a Seinfeld episode. Like it was like a Curb episode. Now it was just us debating whether or not this lady was all there or not. And I'm like, somehow I become a defender of the lady because I'm like saying like, there's no way I was like, she didn't even recognize the flashback. Like there's like, she wasn't there. Like it wasn't. And she's like, oh, she was there. Like she walked through the whole movie. Like she had to be there. So that became the debate. So anyway, that was our Star is Born. But literally flashback comes up. I thought he was dead. So now every time that movie, like anytime you see the movie, you're going to do what my girlfriend and I do, which is every time they start the flashback, I thought he was dead. So there you go.
And I don't know why this, I was at church years ago, and I can say this now because the lady who is the punchline here has since passed away. A guy was making an announcement in church that another pastor in the local presbytery, who was older. He's probably been retired, but he was very ill.
Okay.
And just to wish prayers for it. It's church. It's quiet. The guy just makes an announcement that another pastor is nearing death. Mm. And one of the ladies from the congregation just goes, "He died." And it just screeched and echoed. And then one of I think our pastor's like, yes, it was he passed yesterday. And then he says, well, then I'd like to change it from prayers to the condolences for the
Okay.
family. But like for years, my ex and I, we would just be walking through the house, and once every couple months, someone would just yell out, "He died!" because it could not have been
Great.
more. Oh,
Those are the best. I mean, I understand people who get upset about that stuff in the moment, but those really do become the memories.
oh,
Like
it's yes.
I mean, like that stuff.
This was my while I'm listening to you tell the story. Did no one tell her to shut up?
So this was, again, this goes back to my point of the conversation in the car afterwards. I thought she wasn't all there.
So you were like,
So like
it's just this
in
is
my
what it is.
like in my head, I'm thinking like, this is what it is. I'm not going to be the one to turn around and tell somebody who knows what her condition is. I don't know.
I understand.
But I'm not going to turn around and tell them to
Okay.
shut up without knowing what the condition
If
is.
it was someone who you thought had all their faculties together and were just talking, maybe not doing play-by-play, but constantly talking to the person next to them, would you tell them to be quiet? Have you ever told anyone in theater to be quiet?
Is my group bigger than their group?
There's two of you and two of them.
If I'm in a theater,
if you don't think you're going to get your ass kicked,
if I'm in a theater alone, which you and I have talked about this, like I'm very not afraid to go to theater. I saw Top Gun Maverick alone. Like I actually don't mind going to theaters alone. Some people it's like a phobia, like they can't do it. If I'm by myself, I usually don't say anything because it's my word against the group's word, and like it's not going to end well. It isn't. Even numbers or plus numbers, absolutely.
Okay.
I've like shushed or like I've like done something, but you have to really try. Like if you're laughing out loud or you're like whatever, like I mean, go for it. And listen, I've been in theaters too where like someone drops a one-liner at the right time and it is hysterical. Like they drop a one-liner to the movie and like it's even better, you know, like it's so I'm not like like I'm not saying everyone's got to sit with their hands folded and like, you know, but I mean, I have told people that are just being jerks.
Well, the thing that drives me nuts is you can talk to the person next to you during a movie and the person on the other side can't hear you.
Sure.
Like it's called a whisper. And you can be like, and they lean in and you talk and but when you're just like this and you're talking to your buddy at normal tone and you just like don't care who else around you hears. That drives me nuts.
Yeah. Really
I think I've only ever.
Have you ever been in the theater when they've cheered?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm trying to remember what for.
I don't think I've ever been in a theater that has like collectively cheered. And I'm always jealous of that. Because you see these like TikToks and like Facebook videos of people cheering all together at a theater.
That's a good point. I'm trying to think when.
You don't remember though.
I don't. Yeah. No, but I'm sure I have been.
You know what I'm talking about though, like the collective, like.
Oh yeah, when they're like when they score. When
I
they win.
thought I might get one at Top Gun Maverick at the end, like when he lands the plane, because like I had a pretty like active crowd, like it was people were excited to be there, but they didn't.
You know what's funny? You went. It's funny you mention that. You went on a Sunday afternoon, correct?
I believe it was. It was definitely an afternoon. I think it was Sunday.
Okay, so when I when I was in the theater performance and we did the play and we did Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday afternoon, you just kind of assume. And I just thought that Saturday night would be, you know, the night out and everybody is big. And Sunday afternoon would be all really, really old people or little kids who couldn't be up that late. And it would be quiet. Our Sunday afternoon crowd was raucous.
Yeah.
Like for local theater, when you told a joke, they were on it. They were laughing at parts. Our Saturday night crowd was quiet.
Okay.
And I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because people are still awake. Friday night was better than Saturday night, both weekends.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it was because, you know, people just came from work and the weekend's here and they're happy. And like,
I think your Sunday afternoon is your movie crowd though. Like I think on a Saturday night, you're getting people are on dates, people are bored. Like you get a lot of people that wouldn't watch a movie for fun necessarily on a Saturday night, but for whatever reason they found themselves at this movie theater. I bet you a Sunday matinee, like those are probably your meat and potato, like.
And they might, and these like this is like the first thing of the day. Like we ate or whatever, we went to church, whatever, but. It's not like way off and I'll do this and I'll do this and then at the end of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe, but it was really surprising to me. But Sundays were Raucous is probably not the right word.
Yeah.
But it was lively. It was way lively.
I told you about the Dollar Theater in Erie that I went to when I was in college, stuff like that. And you'd have to wait like a month to see the movie. But at that time, it also too back then, like you could get away with not seeing a movie for a month. Like the idea of running into a spoiler, like it just wasn't a thing. We barely had Facebook. But I do remember like going to that Dollar Theater, and you would run into people and different things like that. And I remember having conversations, and I was like, oh, these are movie people. Like these are people who really either saw it before and wanted to see it again, or like it's a Sunday afternoon and instead of watching football, like they're here watching like whatever. So what I would actually like, I remember at the time Inside Man by Denzel Washington was coming out, and I had a group of buddies, really good. And I had a group of buddies that were going to go see it on opening night, and I passed on it because I wanted to wait a month to go see it at the Dollar Theater. And honestly, my only reason was I just knew the crowd was going to be better. Like I was going to be with people who like weren't on a date, like who weren't there to make out with the person next to them and and I was going to be in a crowd of people that like were excited to see Inside Man. And so I don't know. And
you at the time you had no one to make out
with. Not if I'm going to see Inside Man. No, I was there for Clive Owen and Denzel Washington.
There you go.
That's what I was there for.
Inside Man is a good movie.
Anything else off the top of your head?
I do want to mention. For a local congratulations, 'tis the season.
Yeah.
The Montgomery girls.
Yes.
The Lewisburg girls.
Yes.
And the Selinsgrove boys are all in their respective either softball or baseball state championship games. I think Montgomery is Thursday.
Okay.
Selinsgrove is Friday, and I'm not sure when the Lewisburg girls play off the top of my head.
Okay.
But they're all at State College, I think. Okay. Aren't they now? They used to be at Ship.
Yeah, so the baseball one was at State College for a while. I don't know. Now I don't know exactly what.
I'm pretty sure that Brett told me at least the softball is at State College, but I thought it all was. But either way, be that as it may. Congratulations, as we're kind of all over. We got, like Cumming County, Union County, Snyder County, but a lot of good representation. There's been some really, really good it's been a really good year for female athletes in District 4.
Yeah.
Back from soccer with didn't Mount Carmel win in soccer, and then basketball had a ridiculous run.
I think Southern Columbia won again.
Oh, did I say Mount Carmel?
Yeah,
I meant Southern.
I think so. No, I knew what you meant. I think Southern Columbia won again. I forget who I was talking to about this, but just like the last 4 or 5 years, like District 4 is just crushing it on a state level that I don't think it ever like consistently has before. I think. Are
you talking all around or on the
I'm talking
side?
All around.
Okay.
Like I think we've certainly had teams reach state finals, and but like usually it's like this one class at this one school, and they make their 1 or 2 year run, and then like a couple years later, there's
a while. Yeah.
This like pocket of 4 or 5 years, it is like multiple schools, multiple groups, multiple sports. Like, it's really impressive what District 4 is doing on a state level.
And the 2021-2022 school year, District 4 girls have really, really had a lot of success.
Yeah.
So kudos to them and good luck. Again, nobody's tomorrow. It's either Thursday or Friday. So, yeah, I wanted to mention that before I forgot.
No, that was awesome. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll pick some topics for tomorrow. We'll deep dive a little bit. We'll get back.
Maybe I'll go see Jurassic Park tonight, but I won't.
No, you can't.
I'll tell you this. Have you seen the movie Old?
No, but you're gonna make fun of me. I watched like a 20-minute like quick pitch of it where they just kind of like hit beats because I knew I wasn't gonna watch it, but I wanted to know what happened.
So this is what happened to me, and you're gonna like people who are parents will laugh at this one. So I sit down because I'd recorded it. Because I'm like, well, I want to see it because I'm just curious, but I can't believe it's all that good.
Sure.
And I got to the point where like they just set it out and here they come and they're starting to get old. And my son comes home from wherever he was. And it's recorded on the TV where the Xbox is.
Yeah.
He goes, "You're not really watching anything, are you?" And I was like, "Why? Do you want the Xbox?" He goes, "Yeah, if you don't mind." So like I got right to I waddled through like 20 minutes or 25 minutes to get to the good part to find out if there actually is a good part, and then I got thrown out. So I don't even know.
Okay.
So I'll have to go back to it at some point.
All right.
It.
So
I wondered
you
if
think
you
you'll
watched
finish it then?
I'm curious enough. Like it hasn't repulsed me so far.
Yeah.
It just hasn't got going yet.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been painful.
No, I think. I mean, it's just M. Night Shyamalan kind of gets a bad rap. I think he gets a worse rap than what he should get. And I'm not saying he hasn't had some duds, but he has a unique way of telling stories that the answer or the solution is never what you thought it was. Now, whether that works in a movie, sometimes it's great, sometimes it doesn't.
He is, yeah, I know, I get it. He's had some duds. He is very. You always have to take like a fine arts class in college or whatever to fill your. Yeah. At least we did it, Susquehanna, and so I took classical music or something like that, and it was really good. Like our professor was cool. It was fun. I didn't hate it, and Disney's used a lot of classical music, so he played a lot of stuff that, like, oh, you heard this in Fantasia. So there was stuff that you heard. You're like, hey, I've heard this before. But he talked about, and he's like, Mozart, like the worst thing Mozart ever wrote was still really good. Sure. He's like, Beethoven wrote some of the greatest music ever, and he wrote some crap.
Yeah. And
that's kind of my version of M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
Like
that's fair.
Sixth Sense is one of the most brilliant movies you'll ever see.
Mm-hmm. I still think Signs is unbelievably underrated.
I just watched Signs again. I've watched Signs within the last month.
Yep.
But then did you see Lady in the Water?
Really bad.
Oh, I hated it.
It's really
bad.
Just
thought it was awful. I thought The Village was better than it got credit for.
I enjoyed The Village as well.
I thought The Village was underrated. But I never saw The Happening.
The Happening, I have an awful story. I don't even want to tell it. But yes, The Happening I saw in theaters.
Not good.
It's just it's you either have trauma from the experience or you don't. And what I mean by that is what the movie's about.
Oh, I understand.
So if you've experienced it in your personal life, it's a brutal movie.
Rough movie.
If you've never experienced it in your personal life, then you kind of watch it and it's a thriller, you know? So it just depends. It just depends.
Did he do Unbreakable?
He did.
And then Glass.
Yep. I'm telling you, he is now underrated when he really shouldn't.
Well, he took because
crushed.
he was so good right out of the gate.
Yep.
And it's hard to follow that up. But yes, he has thrown some clunkers. But so anyway, I'll give you my review at some point because as soon as my son gives me the TV back. I guess I'll just wait until he's done.
Thank you guys for coming to the Midday Show today. Be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news, and we will be back tomorrow.
Yes, we will.
I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina.
Who?
Messina.
That's me.
See you tomorrow.